Okay, I would like to talk to you about something that's going on with me and with a lot of other people out there, but it's not a very common condition, so there's not a lot out there about it. There are websites like Parathyroid UK and endocrine.org that are very good about giving you the clinical information about hyperparathyroidism and hypoparathyroidism, for that matter, and what the parathyroid is to begin with. And there are a few videos on YouTube about it as well. I highly recommend that you check them out. There are some done by some physicians and surgeons and scientists that can explain what the parathyroid is and what hyperparathyroidism is even better than I can, because I'm suffering from it. Therefore, my mind is not working as clearly as it used to. So I'll do the best I can here. The main thing I want to do is talk about the human side of having hyperparathyroidism. There are a few videos out there that Parathyroid UK has posted that I highly recommend that you watch as well, that are done with my patients. And I thought I would add my little contribution to it as well. This is difficult because it's hard to say. It's hard to think straight, and I'm so distracted by how I feel, you know. But I'll start at the beginning. Try to keep it short. Gosh, it's hard to say because the symptoms of this creep up on you so gradually that by the time you realize what it is, and then you think back on it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've had these symptoms for years. But about 10 years ago, I started having chronic constipation, and I mean nothing helped. Nothing would help for long. We tried everything you can think of to deal with constipation, and nothing lasted for more than a few days, a few weeks, and it would be back again. And this went on for several years, 2 or 3 years. And it just gradually got worse and worse. It got to the point where I was doing enemas and having to go to the doctor and have them do colonoscopies. And then I had appendicitis that I believe resulted from that. And one was a symptom of the other, I believe. And they had my appendix taken out. It was hurting so tremendously. It was swollen. And after they took my appendix out, I felt much better for a couple of years, and I quit having any really symptoms. I went back to feeling more or less normal. Went back to hardly ever going to the doctor again, as guys tend to do. And but then I started feeling bad again. And I've always had chronic pain my whole life, or most of my life, from scoliosis and injuries from doing farming and ranching and things like that. But this is different. This was like pain I'd never felt before, and in places I'd never felt it before, and for no apparent reason too. It started with pain in my left hip that started to rival the pain in my lower back that I'd had for years. That chiropractors would help to some degree, and I've seen chiropractors for my back for a number of years. And I started having my chiropractor I was seeing here recently in the last few years try to see what he could do for my hip, and the things he would try would work for a little while, but then it would start hurting again, and it got to the point where nothing helped, even to the point where his chiropractic adjustments, as good as he is, he's a very good chiropractor, and they had therapeutic massage and everything, but those treatments and those massages began to be painful to the point where it felt like torture. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't see you anymore, for now anyway, because it's just so painful, and the results aren't lasting. Nothing on him, but so I stopped seeing him, and then I started getting other problems where I would get other joints, my other hip, my knees, my ankles, my shoulder. I had a car accident a few years ago, but the pain from that has intensified. At first, people were saying, "Oh, it's just arthritis. You're approaching 50. You're going to start having aches and pains," but nothing like this. Nothing, And that was accompanied by gradually increasing feelings of just feeling unwell, just feeling tired all the time, having a really hard time sleeping. And even if I was really active the day before or several days before, so I should be tired enough I should be able to get a good night's sleep, right? No. No matter how tired I am or have been, I just can't get a good night's sleep. I have to take sleep aids, melatonin, Tylenol with codeine, sleep aids that have antihistamines in them to get any sleep. And it used to be if I took an antihistamine, like Benadryl or something, it would conk me out for hours. But now it just barely works. It just barely touches it. It calms me down a little and I get a few hours of sleep. But I haven't had a full night's sleep in probably, 8-9 years because of this. So as a result of that, between that and the nerve problems, it's affecting my irritability, me being more irritable than usual. I mean, people would say, well, you've always been anxious and irritable your entire life, so how would you know? But people who know me well would say that I've gotten a lot worse than I used to be about being paranoid and worried, anxious, depressed. And that's been gradually getting worse over the last 10 years or so. And it's just been one symptom after another adding on. And then I started getting itches all over my body. It's gotten to the point now where every surface of skin itches. All of them. Inside my ears, everywhere. Bottom of my feet, everything. Top of my head. And taking showers with rather hot water and using the best moisturizing soaps I can find. Shampoos and body soaps and so forth. And hand lotions helps a little. But temporarily. Much more temporarily than it would if I was having, normal skin. To the point where it's like, even when it's hydrated, it feels like it's still dry. And just things like that. And loss of appetite, more so than usual. Loss of interest in things. I have a ton of hobbies that I barely even pay attention to anymore, and I know I want to, but I can't focus on them. I can't think, I can't focus. And then some of my hobbies include things like archery and medieval reenactment fighting, and playing video games and things that require manual dexterity and the use of your muscles and your joints. And those things hurt so badly that it's difficult to do them. It's getting to the point where it's difficult to even write at this point, to type something up and then go back and look at it later and have it make any sense, and having to almost start over again and over until finally I just say, it's good. It's as good as it's going to get. I'll post it. I'll send it in. But anyway, I began having these symptoms to the point where my family was like, we've got to do something. Something is seriously wrong. So they convinced me to go see my primary doctor. I do see my primary doctor, but only when I don't feel well. I'm not one of those people who sees their doctor every year. I know I should, but I don't. But it was getting so bad that I had to do something. And he thought about all my symptoms I was telling him about, and he said, we really need to do a full blood workup and see if we can find something that's causing this. He looked at my past medical history, and he said, well, the appendectomy should have taken care of your intestinal problems and how you feel in that respect, your digestive problems, but it hasn't completely. They're kind of coming back. Not the constipation, but everything else. The acid reflux is starting to come back, and just feeling like I don't want to eat even though I need to, even though I haven't eaten in hours. I just don't have any appetite. But so he did the full workup, and it came back that the dissolved calcium in my blood was off the charts, way higher than it should be. I can't think right now what the numbers are, but those kind of things are on those websites I talked about in the other videos, about how high it is before it's considered abnormal and those kind of things. I want to talk about how you feel as a patient. Anyway, and the other thing was something called PTH, Parathyroid Hormone, was off the charts abnormal. The way it ought to be. And I'd never even heard of that. What in the world is PTH? What's a parathyroid? Never heard of these things. for some strange reason, we talk about a lot about hearts and lungs and liver and all these things, and you hear about it in commercials, and there's organizations out there that put public service announcements out there and say, oh, if you have these symptoms, you should see your doctor for this problem with your lungs or with your stomach or something. But they never talk about the parathyroid. Now and then you'll hear about the thyroid, There goes that itch again. I can barely control the urge to just scratch myself all over. I just want to scratch constantly, but I know I can't let myself, because I'll injure my skin at some point if I keep doing it too much, and to make it worse, get rashes and things. So I'm fighting the urge to scratch myself right now. I really am. But the doctors explained this to me. They said what the thyroid is, what the parathyroid is, and the other videos will explain this. I won't spend a lot of time on that, because I want to focus on the experience. And it's all kind of bewildering to me. It was probably because I couldn't think straight to begin with. But it's just here's this thing that's been in my body all this time. People hardly ever mention it, but yeah, it's critically important to my health. It basically, as I understand it, it regulates the levels of calcium and a number of other hormones, and the way that your neurons, the nerves in your mind, and all of your entire body, the nerves in your entire body, how they function is dependent upon how well these tiny little glands the size of a grain of rice that are usually located on the back side of your thyroid. There's these little flaps that are attached to it. Anyway, how well those are functioning, how much parathyroid hormone, PTH, that they put out regulates how much calcium is dissolved in your blood. Well, if you have too much PTH in your system, if they're overactive, they call it hyperparathyroidism. There's also hypo, where they're not active enough. I don't have that, though. That's a whole different subject, kind of. So then what that does is it triggers the parts of your body. They told me, but I can't think of it right now. Something to do with your bone marrow, something like that. Special cells there that are able to draw calcium out of your bones and dissolve it into your bloodstream. So it's that system in your body that says, oh, you don't have enough calcium in your diet, in being absorbed by your food. It doesn't think so anyway. So it says, oh, we've got to get calcium somewhere, because all these functions in your body, thousands of chemical reactions and stuff, rely on having the right amount of calcium available in order for them to work. And if it's too low, then they won't work right, and you have a whole host of other problems. So this system says, I'm going to take calcium out of my body's bones and dissolve it into my bloodstream, so I've got enough calcium to do all these other things I've got to do. But what it doesn't realize, because it's got these nodules growing on it, causing it to malfunction, is that there's plenty of calcium in my bloodstream already. I'm not low on calcium, but it seems to think so. Anyway, so first he sent me to a endocrinologist, who's a specialist who studies the endocrine system, your thyroid, parathyroid, the glands under your armpits and on the bottom of your feet and your palms, and the pituitary gland in the middle of your brain, and all kinds of, it's an amazing thing, the endocrine system is. It's a whole study all by itself. Like other parts of the body, the human body is so complicated, And he did some more tests, of course. Lots and lots of tests. Every few months, I'd have to do another test, a blood test, a urine test. But what they said he needed was, because the calcium levels and the hormone levels in your body fluctuate so much, you have to check every few months to see if it's trending up, if the fluctuations are trending upward or downward. Well, they kept on trending upward and upward and upward. Those things did. And my vitamin D was a little low, so he prescribed vitamin D supplements, which I'm still taking to this day, because they said that if you take the vitamin D supplements, they will help your body absorb and metabolize some of this excessive calcium that's in your system, in addition to doing your best to avoid eating foods high in calcium, which is not easy. You'd be amazed when you're trying to avoid a nutrient how much of it there is out there. And it's not just dairy. You know, I can't have milk and cheese and ice cream and things like that, which makes sense. If you always think of that, first thing we think of when you say, oh, you need calcium and vitamin D. Well, you need to drink more milk. So I've been drinking no milk and doing my best to avoid cheese. They put cheese in almost everything. You have to ask them not to when you go to restaurants, or you look at the package of food at the grocery store. You check to make sure there's no cheese in it. In fact, the other day, I had chicken and rice casserole, the frozen dinner thing of it. I'm fairly sure my family never put cheese in chicken and rice casserole when I was a kid, but this company did, and I forgot to look. I spaced it out because I can't think, you know. Until I got it home, like, oh no, it's got cheese in it. Fortunately, it wasn't a lot of calcium, not as high as, say, a glass of milk or a wedge of cheddar or something, but it was still some. I have managed to find a couple of brands of bread out there, a couple of store brands and a couple of national brands that are not fortified with calcium. All of the rest of them are, of course, but a couple of them aren't. So that wasn't easy to find. Luckily, they also happen to be the cheap ones. So at least I'm not having to spend a fortune on my food to avoid calcium. There is one good silver lining in this. Avoiding calcium is not expensive. just frustrating. But and the vitamin D supplements I'm taking are not expensive either, thank God. You can get them over the counter at pharmacies, at your big box stores, you know. Any form of, they said, any form of vitamin D will work. Even the inexpensive ones is good enough. I don't have to get the ones that are prescription and stuff like that. You can, but they said I didn't have to. Thank goodness. I was glad to hear that. But it's still frustrating to try to avoid eating something, especially when you love dairy, when you love bread, and things like that. And you always have. You know, I haven't had, you know, a grilled cheese sandwich in 10 years. So it feels like, anyway. It's unbelievable. But anyway, so yeah, but I've been gradually feeling more and more painful, more and more tired, more and more irritable and angry and short-tempered, and my poor family and friends have had to put up with this. And I feel so bad, you know. I don't want to be that way, but I am. I can't help it. So I really fight, I struggle to control my emotions, especially my negative ones, so I don't cause them any pain, you know. They're already worried about me as it is. They're worried about my health, because this condition can lead to, kidney failure, kidney stones, osteoporosis, brittle bone disease, myocardia, you know, things where your heart doesn't work, you know, your organs start shutting down, and if it goes on for enough years. So I can't put it off. I don't want to have surgery. I had my appendix out. That was scary enough. That had to be done because I was, you know, it was about to burst. And if your appendix bursts, you're in big trouble. Well, this is not quite that urgent, but it's getting that way. It's taking a long time to get something done about it. But and people don't know about it. You tell someone, you know, I would love to help you in your garden. I love to garden. I want to come over and help you do this in your garden, but I'm in so much pain I can't do it. I can barely dig a small hole, you know, to plant some flowers. And I gotta take a break, because my hands hurt, and my shoulder hurts. And we got this new house this year, in January. And I've done all I can to try to make it, you know, repainting it, making it nice, because it was fairly nice to begin with. Anyway, I don't want to get off track. The point is, daily life, regular things that used to be easy for me are hard now. Going for long walks have become short walks and less frequent. Playing video games on my Nintendo and my Atari, my beloved Atari, becomes so painful after a while I have to stop. and my reflexes have slowed. They were never fast to begin with, but they've gotten to the point where if the game requires, you know, split-second reflexes, I might as well not even play it. I'm going to fail miserably. It's gotten, you know, to that point. Yeah. No more Pac-Man for me. I'm terrible at it now. I was okay before. Now I can barely even make him go where I want him to. But they tell me that after the surgery, and I've seen this in the videos as well, some of the videos, that the symptoms roll away with varying degrees of speed. But they say they will. I sure hope they're right. I hope it's true. I hope it's true. That the fog will lift and the pain will subside. You know, we'll see. But anyway, I just want people to know that your parathyroids do exist. They are in your body. Everyone's got them. You can't live without them. I've had